Good morning, everyone, and welcome to exporTT's Doing Business in the Dominican Republic webinar. My name is Kanika Espinosa, and I'm a research officer at exporTT. Export opportunities might be harder to see with the ongoing pandemic and global uncertainty, but they are still there. And with our Export Booster initiative, we are committed now more than ever to assisting our potential and existing exporters. This initiative includes targeted assistance for our new and existing exporters, finance facilities, market surveys, and trade missions, among other projects. So today we'll be bringing you insights about the Dominican Republic market, including an overview, sector-specific information, the legal framework, logistics, and standards requirements. Before we begin, let's just go over some ground rules. Please keep your microphones muted and your cameras turned off at all times, unless, of course, you're a host. At certain points during the webinar, we will be having question and answer sessions. So if you have a question, you can use the chat box and I will relay them to the presenters. We hope you enjoy today's session and leave knowing the opportunities and challenges in the Dominican Republic market. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Neil Puntip. He's the Marketing Director of Universal Foods Limited. Mr. Puntip will be sharing his company's experience with us in the Dominican Republic, and we are very fortunate that he could join us today. Mr. Puntip, you can take it away.
All right. Morning, everybody. Just a slight correction. I'm the Managing Director, not the Marketing Director of Universal Foods Limited, which, as you know, is part of the ABIL group of companies. We've been in the DRs approximately 25 years now. And I think our experience would assist, especially those in the food manufacturing sector, in terms of some of the experiences we had. First of all, Dominican Republic is, I think, a very exciting opportunity for most manufacturers because it's a large market. We have very easy access to it with weekly sailings. In most cases, we have duty-free access. And in terms of the local regulation requirements, it's fairly simple and easy. And I would say even to the extent it's maybe lenient when you compare it to other countries like Panama and Colombia. Approximately 25 years ago, we entered the market in a traditional way, where most people look at it in terms of appointing a distributor. After probably about 6 months a year, we found this was not a successful way of operating in the DR because you had to look for a margin for the distributor, for the retailer, paying for shelf space, advertising, marketing, and the margins didn't really allow it. So that after about a year or so, we abandoned that approach. And then after that, we started to approach large supermarket chains to manufacture a private label for them. This proved very successful for us. And what we immediately recognized is that while our product was acceptable, the presentation that we are accustomed in traditional markets was not suitable to that market. So we had to adapt all our packaging, sizes, presentations for that market. And our successful venture was through the large supermarket chains producing a private label for them. There are a number of supermarket chains in Dominican Republic, and they go across the whole marketing structure in DR in that they will have hypermarkets, regular supermarkets, discount stores, so that immediately if you were to get into those supermarkets, your brand becomes, or your product becomes available throughout the market. So this proved quite successful for us. But as I said, we had to adapt packaging and presentation to the market. What we found, we were not able to be the lowest cost producer. And that's an important factor in DR because it's a very price sensitive market. But we were able to overcome not being the lowest price in the market, but still having to be competitive by offering a quality product and, most important, a regular, consistent supply on a weekly basis. And that was key to us in terms of the success. Having expanded into one large supermarket chain, we got the confidence and to approach other supermarket chains. And where we are now, we probably represented in about 5 or 6 of the largest supermarket chains there. But learning the market, we've also found another different channels to enter, which could be of interest for a number of people if they can't enter through private label in large supermarkets. In that we eventually started up with a wholesale, not a wholesaler, warehousing our product. And this allowed us to do a number of things because distribution in this vast country, DR, is very expensive. So we set up a warehouse where our products were available there. And we distributed one through briefcase salesmen to independents, the independent stores, as well as what they call rancheros, which are private sales contractors who would come and purchase your goods daily for cash, and they will distribute to the colmados, which is a huge market in terms of, there'll be like just small mom and pop type outlets. But it's a huge, huge market in DR, probably maybe 500,000 of them. And these were able to be serviced through these private rancheros who would just come on a daily basis, buy a product, as well as distribute it into the colmados. Again, to get into the colmados was a different bag presentation that was required, because in our case, we had to present it into large bags where as much as 5-pound bags, where the colmados would then serve it to the consumers by scoops into small bags. In addition, another area that we were able to penetrate is the wholesalers, which are huge in terms of accessing the marketplace. And we began selling directly to the wholesalers as well. In addition, more recently, we started to use co-distributors, which were localized distributors in different parts of the region where we would sell them directly. So that over the years, we've developed a number of different channels. We even reached a stage where we've sold our product in bulk to local entrepreneurs who would repackage their product to sell on the streets, to sell through the colmados. So right now, our success has not only been our branded product, but also in terms of private label and through different entrepreneurs selling their own brand. So that we probably have about 15 or different customers now in DR purchasing directly from us. The Dominican Republic has become our single biggest market. In terms of our sales, it's probably about 25% of our total sales. And most importantly, it represents probably about 55% of our production output. Just to give you an example, we right now export just about 85% of our production. In terms of, just to give you a size of it, we probably sell is just about twice of what we sell here in Trinidad and Tobago. So it's been a large market for us and highly successful. What has also been a great benefit for us is that having learned the market, and as I said, it was not an overnight success. We've been there 25 years, but getting to know the market, getting to know the different channels of distribution, getting to adapt to the different packet sizes that was required. That has also enabled us to benefit going into other Latin markets, because we're finding that the presentations that have been successful in the DR are also what is being required, for example, in Panama, Colombia, Costa Rica. So it's been a long journey for us, but it is a very, very important market. And why I mentioned the different channels, because I think a number of people can, especially small manufacturers, can find different ways of getting into the market, just not through traditional distributors. We've also found that some supermarket chains may not want to do a private label, and you can offer them your brand or a brand as a control label exclusive to them. And I want to mention that some of these supermarket chains, what they purchase is far larger than the majority of our CARICOM markets, possibly barring Guyana, Barbados, and Jamaica. So it's in each of these supermarket chains, it's almost like a small market for us. So I wanted to concentrate in terms of the different channels of distribution we've been in there, because I think it shows that there's a number of different ways of being successful in the Dominican Republic. And as I said from the very beginning, the traditional way of appointing a distributor we found not successful for us in terms of really penetrating a vast market like the Dominican Republic. I'm not sure how much more time I have, but I think it may also be useful, if permitted by the moderator, that we can take some questions for the last couple of minutes I have, which I think might be more useful to some of these people. It may be more pertinent to some of the challenges they have, or to answer some of the questions they may think would be useful to them. I don't know what you think.
Sure, of course. All right, so at this point, I'm going to ask everyone if you have any questions for Mr. Punta. You can type them in the chat. Okay, I'm seeing a question from Roger Koo. How long did it take to penetrate the market?
Well, as I said, we were there over about 25 years ago, and our initial way of getting into the market was not successful. And we came back out, and what we found, as I said, the first success we had was approaching a supermarket chain for their private label. And just the success of that, it just grew from that. So I would say, in terms of, we've been there 25 years, but we have not been successful, at least in the first 4 or 5 years. It's only learning the different channels and learning the different ways of getting in has allowed us to really penetrate that market through the different channels. And what we've found there now, our presence there, is that instead of us looking for new business there, people are now coming to us for different opportunities in terms of supplying their needs. So it has become a major market for us.
Okay, thank you. I'm seeing a question from Donna Kisoon. What are the registration requirements for your own brand? But Donna, we will answer that a little bit later on. We do have someone speaking specifically to that.
It's interesting though. You need a health certificate to get in to register your products into DR. But what is interesting is that they're quite lenient in that we have found, from a practical point of view, they allow you to enter the market and you have about 6 months to get your health certificate. And it doesn't take very long. For example, if I compare that to Panama or Colombia, you can't enter until you get a health certificate. And the health certificate in those countries has taken us as long as about 3 months. So in terms of getting product ready and getting into DR, it will be a lot quicker than a lot of the Central American markets.
Okay. And a question from Natalie Paul Harry. Congratulations on your success in the market. Have you had any challenges to come out of the arrangement with the initial distributor law 173?
Actually, no. I suppose because the business was it was not successful. The sales were so limited. There was nothing that when we decided to discontinue it was quite mutual. So we did not have that thing. But all the other arrangements we did after that was on a non-exclusive basis. So we've had no problems with the law. Okay.
And the second question, do you supply the sizes of the colmados, or is it handled by the various suppliers to these markets?
No, we handle the size to all our channels of distribution, and they would either sell it directly like that, or in the colmados, they actually open the bag, put it into a container, and they sell it by scoops.
Okay, and the question from Jamal Martin, how has COVID-19 affected your operations in the DR?
Actually, it has not affected us at all, even though DR has been badly hit by the COVID. they have basically remained open. They've had some instances of curfews and that type of thing, but we have not really seen any change or drop off in sales.
Okay, and a second question, also has a recent instability in Haiti, especially after the death of its president, had a spillover effect on the commercial activity in the DR?
Yeah, none at all. The only thing you get from DR from Haiti is you get sometimes a number of people coming from Haiti moving into DR, and there are a number of Haitians that have migrated into DR, and that's almost an ongoing thing from way back. I don't know if in terms of the recent new developments in Haiti, if that has escalated or not, but it's not something that has impacted on us at all.
Okay, and a question from Aid Innes King. What's the most valuable thing you've learned over the years of exporting to the DR?
Being competitive, price and quality and service. Price, quality, and service. And when you're dealing with the bigger supermarkets, the quality and the service is even more important. You always have to be competitive, but the quality and the service is highly important. In our product category, our biggest competitors come from Mexico and Argentina. And our access to the market in terms of weekly salience is definitely an advantage in terms of regular supplies and consistent supplies. But we have really not met any significant challenges from in terms of market entry or any such thing in terms of the DR.
Okay, sure. And another one from Winston Edwards. Was language a barrier in the growth of your business?
No, most people speak either bilingual or a certain level of English. Our packaging is in Spanish as well as in English. But in terms of a barrier to entry, we didn't encounter that. What we did though, that has certainly helped us and might be more difficult for smaller companies that want to get into DR, is that eventually as our business started to grow, we employed a Dominican living there so that they can visit our customers on a regular basis. If you have issues with deliveries or any quality issues, they're on site right there to attend it within 24 to 48 hours, which has gone a long way in terms of supporting our customers and give them a level of comfort.
Okay, and a question from Varun Maraj. Did you need a physical presence there, like an office?
Well, as I said, in the early stages, we didn't. But what has helped us significantly was the employment of a Dominican person there. And that has proved the most valuable. Obviously, now that we have a warehouse, we have an organization there in terms of a delivery team, marketing team, a sales manager there. So we have grown to that extent, but that has only transpired over the last 5 years. So our growth is mainly through having that individual station there until we grow to a level where we started to have our own warehouse and distribution set up there.
Okay, and I think we could wrap up with this final question from Donaki soon. Did you have to register your own brand in the market before you began shipping to the DR?
We did not, but it is, I think, most advisable, but we are fortunate in terms of our brand was not, when we inquired about it, it was not yet registered. So we went in before registering, but I think it's advisable and I would recommend that you seek registration of your brand before entering to be safe.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Puntip. This has really been invaluable and we appreciate you joining us today.
I hope it's of some help, but the most, but it was an honor to at least try and pass on some of our experience. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, All right, so next up we have Ms. Ingrid Orozco. She's the CEO of ULEAD. She's going to be joined by her team members, Cesar Espinosa and Tamara Vasquez. ULEAD is a consulting firm that we contracted to facilitate the market research survey in the DR. So for the past several weeks, exporTT and the ULEAD team have been meeting with government bodies in the DR, potential importers, distributors, service collaborators, and we're excited today to bring to you that knowledge we were able to gather. So Ingrid, you guys can take it away.
Thank you very much, Kanika. Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing well. It is for us a great honor have been chosen to lead this market opportunities report that are going to show you how you can really do business in the Dominican Republic. As Kanika said, we have researched and we have also interviewed during the last month key players in the market, the ones from the ones we have gotten special and interesting insights for all of you to give you key points and key clues also specific or to be able to define the way to do business in the right direction to make it really happen. So I will introduce my team, that is Cesar Espinosa and Tamara Vasquez, that they are going to be leading to the presentation. They are going to be explaining to you specific points that we found out. But I just wanted to say that it's very important that you really consider the possibility to join all the efforts that exporTT is going to create to build these bridges of understanding between the companies, or your companies, the local companies, and the companies in Dominican Republic. It is for sure that you have opportunities, but it is just a matter to make them happen. It's just a matter to be active, to be competitive, and that is exactly why we're here, to lead you, to get your hands on hands, to really do business there. And yeah, now I want to introduce you Cesar Espinosa, that is going to start with the presentation on doing business in the Dominican Republic, how to do business, the do's and don'ts, and specific insights for all of you. Here.
Well, thank you, Ingrid. Definitely just a briefing. Thank you all for being here. And it's definitely, as Ingrid just said, an honor being with you. Serve as your coaches, your advisors in this moment, and present all the insights and findings. Just a quick review from the content that we're gonna have today. First of all, why export to Dominican Republic? This will be the country profile, the market facts, what has happened with COVID-19 outbreak, and business protocol and culture. And we are gonna then proceed with business opportunities for understanding the different sectors that we have today. We are really eager to share with all you that represent the different sectors: food and beverages, construction, chemicals, paper and packaging, and services, ICT, which were the sectors this market survey research was targeted. So you will see, we will go through these business opportunities, and at the end, the market entry recommendations, whether as Mr. Punti were mentioning, we will highlight some of this advice and some other recommendations, especially now within the trends on the market. So for beginning, we have my colleague, Tamara Vasquez, that she's gonna introduce why export to the Dominican Republic.
Thank you, Cesar. Thank you, Ingrid. Very nice to meet you all. I'm very excited to be part of this project. So we are going to talk about why to export to the Dominican Republic. And as Cesar said, we are going to share 4 dimensions about this. A little bit about the country profile of the Dominican Republic, a little bit about market facts, a little bit about COVID-19 outbreak, and finally, business protocol and culture. So Cesar, please, can you help me with the first slide? Perfect. So here, as you can see, Santo Domingo is the capital of the Dominican Republic. Our official language, I am Dominican, is Spanish. Our market size is 10.5 million. And Dominican Republic is the 7th top growth for 2025 with a media of 5.5% of growth according to the international estimations. We are above Mexico and below Chile. And Dominican Republic is the second largest island in the Caribbean after Cuba. About currency, we have the Dominican peso, which is the equivalent of 8.40 dollar trinitens, and in American dollar is the same as 57.03 Dominican pesos by dollar. Our profit tax is 29%, and our calling code is 1809 or 829. So let's talk a little bit about doing business and which are the estimations from the Dominican Republic regarding the report, the Doing Business 2020 report. As you know, doing business analyzes regulation that encourages efficiency and supports freedom to do business. So in the last report, 2020 report, as I said, doing business covers 12 areas, and we select 4 areas to this presentation to show you which are the positions of the Dominican Republic. So it is important to know that in the 2020 Doing Business report, it is include the analysis of 119 economies, and the rankings are benchmarked to May 1, 2019. So in the starting a business area, which include procedures, time, cost, and paying minimum capital to start a limited liability company, Dominican Republic is ranked at the 112th position of the overall rank, which is about, as I told you, 119 economies studied. In the second area regarding trading across borders, which means the analysis of time and cost to export the product of comparative advantage and the import auto parts, Dominican Republic is ranked at the 66th position of the overall rank. In enforcing contract, which is time and cost to resolve a commercial dispute and the quality of judicial processes, Dominican Republic is in the 133 position. And finally, regarding resolving insolvency, which means the measure of time, cost, outcome, and recovery rate for a commercial insolvency and the strength of the legal framework for insolvency, Dominican Republic is in the 124 position. In the overall ranking, Dominican Republic is in the 178th position through Doing Business 2020 report. So in this second slide, we can see this graphic, which Dominican Republic is an outlier with a low risk and high reward in the Caribbean region. As you can see, we share the same area, which Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, and Chile, which are the countries by the analysis that are in the low risk and high reward measurement. So let's talk a little bit about the market facts. We are going to share you about economy in the Dominican Republic, geography, services, competitiveness, and operations. Through economy, Dominican Republic is in the region, one of the economy which has more growth estimations about international literature. So 5% is the real GDP that is expected to have in the period 2019 to 2024. In the, excuse me, sorry. In the Dominican Republic in the 2020 has an imports about $15.5 billion. Our imports went down from 2019 about 14%. It's an estimation that the imports growth were 3% in the period 2016-2020. And we have an estimation of a 3.6 inflation rate through the period 2021 through 2023. Our fiscal deficit is about 0.5%, and we have an estimation of 5.6 unemployment rate through 2025. Regarding our geography, Santo Domingo, which is the capital of the Dominican Republic, as I already said, has the largest urban area with 3.3 million inhabitants, with the 30%, which is, sorry, the 30% of the population of the Dominican Republic. Santiago is the second largest city in the Dominican Republic and is the fourth largest in the Caribbean with a population of approximately 590,000 people. And you will see with Cesar's presentation that Santiago is one of the main areas included in our analysis. It's important to mention that an upper middle income country, Dominican Republic, is with a population growth of 1% in 2020. So let's talk a little bit about our operations. Dominican Republic starts, you have to, it's a promedio of 16.5 days to start a business in the Dominican Republic. Regarding international reports, the operational risk is relatively high in the Dominican Republic. Also, the rule of law is low and the control of corruption is rated as rather weak. So also the regulatory quality is a medium level and we have moderate risk of violence and terrorism due to political instability through international reports. So regarding competitiveness, Dominican Republic is the 78th place in competitiveness. We have the higher export trade flow than the regional average and is the 81st highest CEO emissions, a rather low exposure to particulates. And regarding human development in the Dominican Republic is considered in a high level. Finally, through services, Dominican Republic has higher service exports flow than the regional average. As you know, tourism, for example, is one of the main services sector in our economy. And services accounted for 59.2% of GDP, gross domestic product, followed by industry with 27.8% and agriculture for 7.2%. It's an estimate that by 2024, that 71.7 employees will be included in the services sector in the Dominican Republic. Let's talk a little bit about the COVID-19 outbreak. The unprecedented nature of the current situation has taken most of the countries in the region by surprise and delayed financial and social countermeasures. Consequently, the rating as Standard & Poor's has reduced the credit outlook for the Dominican Republic to negative, as it's happening of the majority of the economies worldwide. So the Dominican Republic had enjoyed one of the highest growth rates in the surrounding region over the past few years. So Dominican Republic has been leading the growth in the region for the past 10 years, and a trend that was largely attributed to its robust tourism and construction sectors. For give you just an example, on a typical day regarding the tourism area through the cruises, the Caribbean countries accommodate between 3 and 6 cruise ships, which amount to approximately 12,000 through 20,000 new tourism, but the COVID-19 pandemic has seen brought this robust business activity to a complete halt and create a recessionary economy. Just for give you another example, for example, in the Dominican Republic, the arrivals of international tourists were like 7 million, 6 million, 7 million foreign visitors by COVID. Right now, we just have like 500,000 of visitors in the first 6 months of the 2021. In response to the pandemic, the government has pledged approximately $576 million in aid, which amounts to 0.75% of the GDP of the Dominican Republic. These funds include increased subsidies for at-risk households, supplementary funds for healthcare, for example, supplies, equipment, private laboratory testing, or annals. And it allowances for essential workers. So additionally, the World Bank has released $150 million as a credit line to support businesses and individuals in the Dominican Republic, and in the country also, we are constantly having programs from the government to help SMEs in the Dominican Republic through the different sectors where we have potential, commercial potential. So let's talk a little bit about business protocol. Businesses communication is characterized by a mix of both direct and indirect communication. Sorry, yes. Okay, so Dominicans usually prefer to get to know a person through a small talk before getting into formal business deals. This is very important now in our culture because it's very important to have a few minutes first to have face-to-face preference conversation before a formal meeting. So Dominicans consider eye contact and a firm handshake two important aspects of non-verbal communication. Spanish is prevalent as the common business language in the country. Although many in business circles speak English language, interpreters may be necessary. But in professional area, it's very common to speak English in Dominican Republic, so it's very easy to make business to doing business in Dominican Republic, and language is not necessarily a barrier in our country. So hierarchy is rather important in the context of doing business. However, immediate bosses are usually friendly towards their subordinates. Bargaining, focusing on both project terms and prices, is common. And finally, formal businesses meetings are usually scheduled at least 2-3 weeks in advance. Emergency meetings may, however, be arranged on short notice. So it's very friendly in Dominican Republic to make flexible in the business agenda. And business meetings are well structured, and punctuality is highly appreciated in Dominican Republic. Time management is considered important, and proceedings should be go over as a schedule. Business conflicts are generally resolved through discussion aiming for a mutually acceptable solution. If talks fail, conflicts are resolved with the help of a mediator. Maintaining a strong business network is considered rather important to succeed in business. And finally, keep your meeting prepared is one of our final recommendations. It's very important to be ready with samples and ask specific questions for a successful discovery meeting, whether it's virtual or in person, and we are pretty sure you will be succeed. So thank you very much, and now we continue with our colleague Cesar Espinosa.
Thank you, Tamara. So here we are now for the business opportunities, and definitely going from there. And as one of the main priorities from this market survey research led by Kenika and all the team in exporTT, it was reinforcing and nourishing that strategic business network. So from there is that we're getting most of these insights. It is important for us to and you're gonna see some of those results here. And definitely we would like to start with the retail and consumer profile. It's important to learn that that the market size, it's one, as Tamara already mentioned, it's one of the most important things to consider. And also in a long term for 2040, it's expected to grow to a size of 12.4 million. So also the household consumption expenditure was lower than regional average, but that doesn't mean that the potential for growing into the market, especially for the food and beverage sectors, might not be affected. Even now with COVID, just as Mr. Tip was mentioning before, food was expected to grow. The thing that changed was the distribution channel, which the online channel was accelerated, and consumers in the Dominican Republic spend the most in that area, food and non-alcoholic beverages. Real GDP per capita at US 8,389. This is the net real GDP, and also within the gross one, and considering that it's on the top. Even there are other islands where maybe with the population density, this changes. In terms of the consumer profile, the high medium class is there raising. So this is really important to consider. And definitely this is higher and 3 places behind Mexico and 6 from Brazil. So it's really there where you need to consider the segments that you're going to be approaching. Definitely in terms of the sophistication of that retailing, there's an index called Global Retail Development Index, and they are now positioned in the 14th level, which means they're still even growing and developing, but it's almost getting into a mature point. So that retail market is maturing and it's getting sophisticated into the modern retail, which now accounts for 14.9% of the household consumption. And the traditional retail channel, that's where everything is happening, and what with the ABIL experience, that now it represents also one of the most important. So it's that 61% traditional. Total household consumption is also something important to keep in mind. Finally, and as a fourth element, is that you need to consider that Dominicans recognize themselves as avid brand-conscious consumers, regardless of their income level. They often buy the best and that they can afford, paying attention for branding and value. But also, and this was mentioned before, Dominican consumer is traditionally sensitive to price, and especially buyers from the retail channels and on all those different levels. But this is guided by utility before quality, but it has been changing. And now the quality standards are more important, especially, for example, in private labels, those related within that has that perception of a US private label. This is important. We're gonna also go in depth into this element. This is a chart for you all to have this as an overall overview of what is happening in the Dominican Republic compared to the Caribbean, compared to the Trinidad and Tobago. So as you can see, definitely the household consumption was a little bit lower, but that do not represent that those imports and exports that are happening there in the market might not inflow. For some sectors, and there's also where we are going to share with you an index for showing you a top ranking from all the products that were evaluated here, and also with the insights from some of the buyers, what is happening here within these markets. But definitely food and beverage has been growing, and other sectors that has construction, for example, some of the inputs that they are needing. And this goes within this in the change, for example, in inventories, that it has happened. Even the local production for some of the products, it has become or strengthened through competition, through their competitiveness, and even to start exporting or keep ongoing exporting, not really supplying the local market. But this is important to consider so you can have that overall perception. Now we're getting definitely targeting what is happening with the retail, the distribution channel, and this is more likely for groceries. So the traditional retail, as we were speaking, that it's integrated by the independent low-cost supermarkets, and definitely the colmados are the most important of this sector. Well, it accounts for that 61.5% that we were discussing. And it also includes these independent supermarkets that at this point, there are 40 all around the country. Most of them are concentrated in Santo Domingo and Santiago. But definitely these, they represent, and the colmados specifically, which account for more than 28,000 colmados all around the country, across the country, they are getting the 53.7% of the total household consumption. So this is something really important because, as you can see, even those independent markets has an important, the concentration is there in colmados. And also, well, just a fact here for the independent economic supermarkets, UNESA is a network, and they constantly are related, and especially colmados within the brewery industry. The Cervecería Nacional Dominicana is one of the most important leveragers for them to have that competitiveness they have, especially online, for example. We are going to talk about that later. Another important sector is HoReCa, which are directly hotels, restaurants, and coffee shops, which accounts for the 22.6%. And getting there to the modern retail, which has been growing exponentially since the 2009. I mean, in more than 10 years, the growth has been into this level, with this sophistication accounting for the 14.9% of the total household consumption. And now you can find more than 150 units from the main chains. And also it's important to share with you that it's a moderate concentration there. There's still competitiveness, and that traditional retail also has to do with this. But even for this sector, it's highly concentrated only between 6 groups. So this is important because 2 of the top players may have most of the market share. And they also generate more than 16,000 employees. So finally, the wholesalers level, which is not really common, but it's out there, especially in Santo Domingo, accounts for 1.6% of the total household consumption. And they are also mostly the distributors for the traditional retail. This is a chart where we can see some of what is happening and how the Dominican consumer gets the products. And here we are also putting the Trinitian vendor, how you're going to be competing with foreign vendors, and definitely with the local manufacturers. And definitely, and this was highlighted by Mr. Puntib, getting in the first stages through an importer, that will be the wholesaler distributor, would be important, and targeting which is their strategy would be the most important, because it might be that it's supermarkets and hypermarkets, for example, with those big chains that are in the Dominican Republic, and definitely, for example, private labels. But also there are opportunities, and it would depend on that importer to get into those independent supermarkets, colmados, but it would require an infrastructure like the warehouse, or them maybe having that warehouse and you have specific negotiations with them. So you can get there to Dominican consumers. Also, farmer street markets, what we call popular markets, are marketplaces are important. And this comes along within the distribution channel. And for continuing, well, just for you to have a look of the different formats, for example, what is happening with the Bravo, that is one of the, they have supermarkets there in the Dominican Republic and hypermarkets. How you see an independent supermarket like Treble, or a convenience store like Penguin. And finally, this is a colmado, so it has also the look like a convenience store, but they have also their own structure, and you can even see here some of for the delivery services they are having now. So what happens with the structure chart? Where are these modern retail and how they are operating? So as you can see, as we were mentioning, these are the 2 main groups, Grupo Ramos and Centro Nacional Cuesta, which they have different formats. For example, La Sirena with hypermarkets from Grupo Ramos, getting there to the high middle income segment. And for the middle low, they have Superpola and Aprecio. So low cost competitive pricing, it's really important for them. They have 42 units. And they have even acquired from other chains that it's only 5 of their units to transform them to their own group. And they have more than 10,000 employees, and they are top 1 in sales. And definitely they focus into imports and local purchases. For CNC, we have Nacional, that they are the specialty imports, high middle income class. They even run also gourmet products, but they also have their private labels. Jumbo for hypermarkets, and they have the local and more like a convenience store, but a bigger format for Jumbo Express. They have 35 units, more than 7,000 employees, top 2 in sales, and mostly imports, especially for Nacional. So it's one of their most important strategies. Then also for high middle class, we can find Carrefour, which is a French retail chain. They only have 2 units for more than 20 years in the market, but they have this strategy of having local suppliers. So more than 75% of their products are locally supplied through their private labels. And also you can find this membership groups like PriceSmart. They have 5 units. They are all around the Caribbean, as you may know, and mostly importing from the US, and everything is centralized in Miami. And from Bravo, that we can say that third important modern retail chain that you need to consider. It has 18 units, more than 17 years in the market, and they account their private label for hard discounts. And also for middle low income class, you can find La Cadena, which are also important, and they are in other cities. For example, in Santiago, they have important units, 8 units at this time, more than 22 years in the market. Ole, which also it's all about hard discounts and a private level, and 13 units at this point. And Plaza Lama, which has 4 units, a private label, and hypermarket. This is just a quick scan. Even this is online shop. Online retail is growing and is still there on a mature going there to a mature level, which it will take some years. The COVID-19 challenge has definitely accelerated this. So it was important for us to share with you who are the players here. So Grupo Ramos and CNC, they have their own online store, the marketplaces inside their websites. They have some requirements, as you can see, the minimum purchase of $35. Nacional, they don't deliver all the products they have, so it will depend what they have. They have separate different catalogs from what they have in store, and so these Brico clicks are important to consider. Then we have something important, as I was mentioned before, Colmado, and how related they are to Cervecería Nacional Dominicana. In order to be delivering, they have worked for them for developing this online delivery marketplace, and they even give free delivery. And obviously they promote their beers with discounts. And also for groceries, and especially all the fresh produce, is Todo Fresco, which is one of a young brand in the market. And they have this sustainable approach with not using plastic bags, but for example, cardboards. Then we have an 100% online store, which is totally new, family owned, and it's 100% online. They also provide some footwear, clothes, apparel. So this is important to consider, which could be a different market. And they have this differentiator of delivering before 30 minutes. And finally, these delivery services, one of them, for example, is this European app, and Pedidos Ya, which is the most important in Latin America. So for example, Bravo, Lama, Carrefour, they have their marketplaces there. They have independent marketplaces. And there you can find also a lot of colmados there, and other convenience stores. And Ugo, which is Central American, it's more likely to be used to Oreca. So what is happening within some of the trends in market highlights that we have here? Grocery chains are offering an increasing number of products under their own brand. A strong growth potential in the nascent discount segment, definitely that's something we see it's going to keep on growing. Even inflation has impacted in 42% raise in prices in groceries in the last months. Government is now trying to hold back this, and they are all preparing. That's also really important there in Dominican Republic, how as business chambers, business associations work together into this, especially those related to food security, and how they have been working within strategies. Definitely, for example, they have this competency commission, which it tried to get, it's like they have this model whether the market is regulated, so they can be watching out that they are not raising prices for 100%. Even that happens, but they keep this monitored. So it's really important to, well, the sophistication in that level of the retail industry. Given the prevalence of low purchase volumes, specialization among importers, and the prominent role played by freight consolidators, it's more common that multiply intermediaries are involved in product importation and placement, and it's all about just the volume. So for starting, that's why it's so important to work with importers with this that normally they are the wholesalers. So you can start maybe even with the pallet or the range that they will start, so you can even explore the market. Even though most of the time it's not enforced in local supermarkets and retailers, the Dominican government requires a Spanish labeling on all the prepackaged food products, and we will see this later on the legal terms. Fiscal reform with recent increases in the value-added tax, which is called ITVS in Spanish, it has gone from 16 to 18%, which will also include products such as coffee, sugar, chocolate, yogurts, oils, butters, and others, will affect purchasing power of the Dominican consumer. And this has been happening in the last years. So there hasn't been any pronunciation from the new government for a different perspective, but let's see what is happening. And well, some of the trends that we would like to highlight, as we said before, are these private labels, how grocery chains are increasing the number of their products with their own brands. This, as you all know, has been a trend in the US, Canada, Europe. So it's important to account that consumers have been benefited from these special promotions and lower prices from private labels. And while there has been a negative impact on some local product manufacturers because of these markups maybe that they are losing, who have seen their revenue decreasing by 15%, and also this gives up more opportunities to private label manufacturers. Larger chains imported likely from US suppliers, for example, cutting up the cost of third-party distributors and reducing retail prices. Also offering private label goods local or from leading US retailers, which appeal to a growing interest in quality and value among the expanding middle class. So this was early mentioned by ABIL, and it's really important. Even as a private level, it's that quality and value, it comes for their understand. For example, Bravo has been having a successful positioning of their brand, and also the lineup, the range of the lineup they have. Improved product ranges and lower prices have helped to attract typical independent store shoppers to outlets. A growth acceleration in the coming will see middle-class consumers forgo traditional shopping habits in favor of shopping and modern retail outlets. And definitely this is because of how the market has been getting sophisticated, and definitely modern retail taking more importance into the shopping behavior. A significant amount of shelf space is devoted to US imports, for example, or in Nacional also for European, whether they have their gourmet, higher value branded processed fruit. So most supermarkets, even those belonging to a larger chain, lack the space to accommodate their own warehousing and storage facilities, and are those dependent on third-party distributors or the wholesale sector. So this was also mentioned by the experience of Mr. Puntip. So what was happening with ABIL there at some point, and the capacity and the requirement of the market, having someone to develop, or you managing your own distribution center warehousing, it's really important. The independent retail sector has traditionally been very robust, primarily owing to its strong price competitiveness. Such stores have typically stocked only local goods and lacked refrigeration facilities, for example. but have been a perfectly adequate source of supplies for most shoppers. However, in the past 5 to 6 years, a rapid process of change has been underway. So this is also important infrastructure, a brick of mortar, and that's a challenge that the independent supermarket has, that the Colmados has, that sophistication in what is the modern retail getting their competitive advantage could be something to continue watching, and strong growth potential in the asset discount segment, and the overall value of the sector is consequently expanding. So as we were mentioning and positioning of brands, it's important to understand that these ranges. So the premium ones, those gourmet, the specialty food, as we were mentioning, even Bravo, so they have some of those, and Nacional, and promoting special areas, even special seasons. So these are more activations that they normally have within countries or others. And the international ones, mostly US brands, also some European, and others from transnationals. It can be from Mexico, or others like Bimbo or Maseca, which are corn, all those corn delivery. And also you can find the national products. So this is a good example how some of the local brands, they manufacture in there, and you can think that Mexican salsa verde is from Mexico, but no, you can find that it's a national local producer. So this is also important to see how they give this importance. And finally, in the private level, I mean, the pricing goes on the range of getting a better offer with less than 25%. You can see the different ranges. For example, Carrefour, they were the pioneer for starting promoting a broadened range, and now they have 376 products. Nacional, for example, they have 2 private labels. They have Leader with only 250 products, but you can find also Food Club, which is really related to a US private label. We will see some pictures later. And now they account for more than 900 products. So you can imagine there how this is competing, for example, with PriceMart, for example, that they were known for these US private labels. Bravo has 140, Cadena Lixto with 90, Sirena First Class 79, and Plaza Lama Gold, it's 70. Those are the names of the private labels. What is happening with food and beverage and the sales? So as we can see, the Dominican Republic is the largest market, with food spending forecast at 14 billion in 2019, but rising to 15.1 billion to 2021 this year is what is expected, even with COVID-19 impact. And you can see even Trinidad and Tobago or some others which has different peaks happening through the years, and also how this stability from the blue line in Dominican Republic have kept that. You will see this icon here that represents all that is related with food and beverage for all the companies that are with us today that are from this sector. So you can easily identify those insights that are for you guys. So for example, we run also as part of this market survey research store check, and to see what was happening in the shelves in each of these brick of mortar, sorry. So for example, we can see some of the cornflakes and other elements that alcoholic beverages, for example, the beer, and what was happening there in different formats. For example, La Sirena, in Bravo, and Nacional, this is Leader, for example, and how they been promoting really similar, but how they are giving more space for some of their private labels. Here we can see also some of the from the paper and packaging industry, and some non-alcoholic soft drinks as well. So for defining these top opportunities, we run this index where we use different factors going from the export potential. What was the gap that wasn't still exported by Trinidad and Tobago? What is imported by the Dominican Republic? How much it's produced there in the Dominican Republic? what is the behavior in the market, the performance, what are the trends that are happening, how concentrated is the market, how the COVID impact has affected, and what happened last year, for example, separated to the range from 2016 to 2019, and how that performance has been developing through the years. Also considering some local insights from the industry, and especially from those recollected by the sectors. There's an analysis done by the Ministry of Treasury and how the internal taxation directorate, they run this for the market concentration, and which are the trends of how it's growing and how concentrated it is. So going through the index and this potential in terms of imports and market growth, we have defined this, which some of them they might be scored in same levels. So this is a reference. It doesn't mean that a direct value or in terms of amount or volume, but we think it was going to be really useful for all of you to consider from the goods that are willing to be imported to Dominican Republic, how this could be played. And definitely here toilet paper, for example, was something that we find there as a top food preparations. And then, for example, we can go to construction with uphold shelter seats, packaging, which was glass containers, bread, definitely sweet, biscuits, pastry, sugar confectionery, nuts, and others, even sauces, were considered into this top. And you can see how, and this is important, how diversified this is, because it's not only that the food and beverage have more opportunity now, maybe because of the pandemic effect, where everybody was maybe more focusing into keep on growing the sectors with the online distribution channel, but also those intermediary like packaging, they have been considered as important, or for example, we have electric conductors here. So this is important for you have the reference. So now we're going to take a look, for example, for toilet paper, how those brands that they promote from some multinationals like Scott or Familia, and how, for example, it looks. It's La Sirena, for example, they don't have their own private label, but Bravo, they have their own, which is Bravo. We can find also Leader with Nacional, Olé with their own, Gold with Plaza Lama, and Carrefour. And you can see the different packagings, right? And how, for example, Carrefour has this look maybe more sophisticated related to other products. You can see maybe Bravo on that medium level segment, trying to be pragmatic and really get into the point of getting a good pricing. Even they have in the packaging that price. And this is important, so you can have a first approach of what is happening there. We run into the stores this trying to see what was the difference of the pricing and trends there. And definitely, for example, Sirena lead discount activations for most of the brands, but they do not promote a private label. So that's their strategy. Bravo has more lineup for private label, and for example, more the sizes, different types of the same brand, but different presentations. So this is important because these new versions of product, you can find different, and they can compete, for example, if they have a special oil or cotton feel like. So this is something whether they try to compete with the transnationals like Scott or Familia. And Nacional and Carrefour with its private label Leader has also higher prices. Olé and Lama with the cheapest prices for private label, Gold on Olé, and Olé and Lama shrank their lineup from other brands to promote their private label, especially online. So this is important because that's also part of that hard discount strategy they have. We can see also here some of the products that were raised, and well, let's mention that cornflakes that we find here were produced by ABIL. So it was really exciting to see that it was manufactured in Trinidad and Tobago, and that's what we are really aiming to get from after these results and all this that exporTT is doing for all the companies here, how all your brands are gonna be there on the packagings and promoting more and more products from Trinidad and Tobago. And definitely you can see even the packaging for some, like maybe the cardboard boards, but some others using plastic bags. So there's also the strategy to be considered. It would depend most of the time from the retail chain, but those are some conditions. For example, some of the preparations, we have this pancake mix, and Life Sirena, they're promoting transnational brands, use brands like On Jemima. Bravo, they have this packaging like really generic, but you can see, for example, Nacional, this totally might look like a US private label. So having that feel, and they have more presentations, they can even offer the frozen version of this, whether the others, they do not. And the pricing, well, Bravo with the best price, that's why they have that generic packaging. Sirena Nacional with their private labels, almost perceived as the US products from the Nacional, as we were mentioning. And other supermarkets, they do not even consider having this kind of product. So maybe for them, it's more specialty, not that on the grocery level. This is really important, and everybody, I will be glad you're all here paying attention. We're going to highlight this because these are direct insights from the importers we were talking to with Kanika and all the team from exporTT to understand not just nourishing the strategic network, but also learning what was happening inside. What are they looking for? So for example, companies are confident that there is a profitable demand, and now there are more channels and also positive with the tourism reactivated. So this could be one of the perceptions of why the market continues growing and the food and beverages hasn't been affected even through pandemic. They do not have specific processes for the purchase. If they evaluate the product and verify the need in the market and both concede, then the most of the time they negotiate, for example, exclusivity. So if they are going to promote a new brand, this will happen. For modern channels and the private labels, this will be different. And this is more likely for those importers selling maybe for independent supermarkets to colmados. So this is really important because there needs to be a brand positioning and even because they do not have a private label, right? So this can be another alternative and maybe a second stage for some of you, or maybe the first one, something you need to evaluate. Currently, for example, they are importing from countries like Colombia, Venezuela, Mexico. These supply services, they have the logistic services where we detect also some of these imports, and Ecuador, China, United States, Chile, and Argentina. And certifications that they look for in a supplier are healthcare certification, sanitary certification, labeling. It's also important once it's there in the market. So especially with modern retail, they will have their specs. Payment terms, most of them provide between 30 to 60 days. And none of the companies interviewed was aware of any like support program for incentivizing financing or others, but they normally use they have a healthy financial situation, and that's something also important to check, right? That's why we also try to contact those companies with specific profiling, even in terms of who were the decision makers, how the size of the company, and the references we have from them. Their top interests are, and it consists with the index that we run that was aligned with this food preparation, sweet and salad cookies, candies, for example, lollipops, they mentioned this specifically, sauces and dressings, cereal, and other products related, alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks, ready to drink. So these are some of those importers that we were mentioning. And as you can see, the interest in TT suppliers is there. And most of them, maybe they do not really have a previous experience, but they are willing to know and compare, evaluate the potential, especially as this was mentioned by Mr. Puntip, the price competitiveness, and we're gonna see that with the purchase drivers. and their perception is definitely influenced by that lack of knowledge. So it's really important to get, if it's gonna be get recommended or having a reference from someone else in the market, or even what exporTT is doing with this strategy, how this is really important in the market, and all the years they have been promoting Trinidad and Tobago in Dominican Republic, right? So for the purchasing drivers, it was really important for them to know that it's a legally constituted company in TT. So that's a given, because that's how exporTT works with all the companies that are here, even in this webinar. So this for them, it's a way to confirm that that there's already a legal vehicle, right, to negotiate with them. The second thing is a competitive price. This is really important, as it was mentioned as well. Flexibility, it's more important than service quality. And that means that, well, there can be adjusting to time, maybe inventorying. So there's where you need to consider the planning for that demand. And experience and reference in DR, it's also important, but it's not the top. And that requires certification. It was mentioned, but it's not a top. And they assume most of the products will have the minimum requirements from the sanitary standards that the government requires, okay? So this is a given, not extra certification. That's good, because they are not looking for organics, kosher, or any specialty thing here. So that gives more opportunities. So going with the second part of the index and some other products, we can also find, for example, from the construction industry, all these paints, chemical products, and those paints from polyesters. Also some food and beverage products, as you can see, ordinary water, for example. Sugar ranks on the bottom. Even that's a really sensitive sector, and for those who are willing to export that, we will recommend you have direct advisory from international trade law firm, whether you can find some of the sensitiveness of this sector. But everything that it's manufactured, for example, sugar, confectionery, and others, this is something that it's already given, and with the rules of origin and everything from your imports that we will have later, and a specific presentation about this, you will understand much better what are the requirements there. For example, for the tomato ketchup, you can see, and this was really important for us to share with you all, how Bravo almost has all the shelves, their own with their private label. And you can find also how First Class from La Sirena and Carrefour, they have their own, they have Bravo, they look really similar, which is also interesting. And the pricing is also really similar. You can see, yes, and in this type, for example, La Sirena has the best. Even Lama, it's known as a low-cost store. So this happens a lot, that it's a price guerrilla. So you need to be aware of that. And well, also, well, that you're competing with those transnational brands, for example, in this case with Heinz or other locals here, the Famosa, which is a really important brand. This is some of the looks also from other snacks that we were mentioning before, and alcoholic beverages. And here, for example, from these snacks, we find out, for example, that cost goes from less than 50 cents to 61 cents. And beverage soda costs from 26 cents to almost $2. So for cereals, we find that range from 0.87, whether, for example, from Trinidad and Tobago, ABIL, they have in PriceSmart this, which was one of the most competitive pricing as well, and the private repacked at almost $1.75. They are usually normally bought per pound, and this is something, and as you saw before, the packaging, right, with some plastic bags, the cardboards. Products found in Sirena, where Sirena Churchill, Bartolome Colon, Bravo Churchill, and Núñez Cáceres, which is one of them important neighborhoods from Sirena Churchill from Santiago and Bartolome in Santiago. Also at Nacional 27 de Febrero, which is Avenue, Núñez Cáceres, and Jumbo Leperon. And it's important also to mention, for example, in for this snacks category, there were not other products from CARICOM found. It also has evolved into large admittance of new experience and new brand distributors that willingly bring and represent brands with solid action plan and investments in the market. Alcohol will nominates the niche. Also for beer, Cervecería Nacional, well, you will find it everywhere. And it's also because they are now part of Animbev. So this is Belgian Brazilian brewery company. So their global presence and their infrastructure also it has a real impact in the market for the sector. 3,000 independent SM of all the country. Each province has their own brand for independent for supermarkets, and none of them has grown to invest in outside areas. So these are the independent markets we were talking about, and you will find that I mean, they have no interest of expansion. They keep themselves like that, but this network they have kept them strengthened and really updated with all the trends. For construction, chemicals, and packaging, well, here are some of the looks. You can see inside Ochoa how it looks. Here is Ferretera Sama, Bellón, the outside part of Ochoa. So you can even see like even a hypermarket. And some of the hypermarkets, like from Grupo Ramos or CNC, they also have these areas. They have a home area, for example. So it's important to consider that. This is a look of the shelves with the paints and some varnishes and some others. And some other even tanks here. There were some even independent stores that were selling those tanks. And for example, for paints. In 1 gallon presentation, you can see there's different brands that they do not have a private label, but they promote a local ones, for example, in Bellón, that is located in Santiago, and it's only manufactured there. So it's Tucan, and well, the price, they're trying that low cost hard discounts strategy. And you can see also that the hardware stores are mainly importing from Mexico, Brazil, and USA, and China is starting to get in some share of the market, and very few actually just Ochoa imports from Trinidad and Tobago already. So this is for the construction sector and household maintenance, which we were really excited to see that as well, that Trinidad and Tobago is there in the sector. This industry is one of the fastest growing due to government policy in the combination with private sector of supplying low-cost apartments for the general population. So affordable housing with a goal of 500,000 to 1 million apartments in a 4-year period. So this is something really important to watch out for construction sector. And I mean, here, for example, paper and packaging, this was like a type of office depot, Office Max store, which they were in the market before they left, but this is a Papelería CC, which that's the name of the brand. And I mean, normally for home, for school and office appliances. And well, from the importers, the insights that we would like to share with you is that regularly their purchasing process is first to evaluate the product, and then they consider that they will have it depending on the price. The price is really important. Their new suppliers usually give them samples to verify quality. So this would take some time, and the delivery in timely manner, that's really important for them. So logistics need to be really handled, and you need to have an expert by your side to get there to the Dominican market. Highly mainly, well, the taxes were paid in advance, merchandise, transport, so they don't inherit any problem. You know, that's what they normally try to look. the country, most of them, they also import from China, so especially the big chains. And payment terms, you can see 60, 90, 120 days, depending on the market, on the product. And Ferreteria Ochoa expressed that they would like to learn from more other products in the markets. So that's really important. And to consider this as one potential distribution channel. These were the top products they mentioned: electric conductors, iron and steel structures, bars for grading, packaging, displays and POP furniture, and varnishes. Sorry about that. I'm just losing my voice. Maybe this is a signal. I should share the mic with someone else, but we are almost finishing. Don't be with me, please, because we're really excited with this part. And from some of the importers we talk, also, as you can see, it ranks as a purchasing driver, competitive price as the most important, they are also legally constituted, experience in DRR, flexibility, service quality, and require certification. So we also link this perception because most of them, they might not have experience with the Trinidad and Tobago. So for example, having those references, and this is a market that it's all about relations, and everybody might know, especially in the industry. So for example, if you can get that Trinidad Ochoa gives a reference to extend to another market, for example, or you have exclusivity with them, I mean, this is something really important also, how you manage your word of mouth marketing. And some of the trends now for services that we were also considering this sector, but we give this dimension and into this section of the presentation. So we can share with you that total import of services were 3.1 billion. There still has been growing, but with the national strategy, and we will talk about that, this might start changing. And also top services imported by Dominican Republic were sea transport with 980 million, logistics with air transport, for example, and passengers travel. Those are the top, but you can also find important levels, maybe less than a half from the top one, like other business services. And this includes like from consultancy, ICT, and others that IT services and others, that marketing services, all those administrative services that you can export, BPOs and others are into this range. And also it's interesting to see telecom comes to this level, which is another sector, and financial services. Leading services imports from Dominican Republic were in travel, well, as we will see, and also information services sectors. The Dominican Republic had 17th highest internet penetration in the world. So this means that it still has this gap for growing, but this keep on going, especially on online. And if you're having an agency that provides, for example, digital marketing, it's really important because the capacity they have, they might be looking for that. We're going to see for those strategic partnerships. And this is really important with this new mandate. They have this priority to deliver and the first national strategy for exporting modern services. So this was recently delivered. It was almost during pandemia. And it's for propelling the creative economy, audiovisual industry, telecom, IT, and others. So it's really important because they are going to work together, and they have 150 experts working in this. There's also National Committee of Commerce and Coalition of Services. And even this sector has been, it's really important. And as you see, since we started this presentation, how the services is going to grow and how they are looking to evolve their traditional sectors to become a service-oriented economy. This will be really have an impact. Also, they are known by contact centers and BPO, so they have been developing this for years. Even recently, Scotiabank announced the opening of their service center, but it's important also to consider that sometimes the capacity is limited. So it depends maybe sometimes on the employees or the talent that they can get. So strategic partnerships can become an asset for them. And in terms of telecommunications and digital strategy, it was also important for us to share with you that the Dominican Republic is one of the largest in the country in the telecommunication industry. And its central goal, and not just the telecom, but the digital and service strategy from President Abinader's administration. Since February, they have, from this year, they have invested more than $30 million in public funds for the telecommunication sector. And this includes the 5G. So this is really important. So you can see, well, how sophisticated this market and their infrastructure has become a priority. The Wi-Fi spots, there's where we see that it will impact the most, and how the online market, it will keep on growing. And the ICT processes and platforms in all aspects of operations. So this is something important for those related to this industry, but even you're not related, the online and the digital economy, how it's growing, and this is going to be an important trigger. From the buyer insights for the services, last year's performance was, the perception of them is that last year was slow through the pandemic, but it reactivated, and the influence of new projects was boosted. There were opportunities for supplying new services during the pandemic, like digital marketing, software development, promotion, advertising, social media management, marketing, software customs, call centers, software development, IT experts. Those were the ones mentioned by the buyers and your potential strategic partners. Companies are confident that the demand of their services will continue to increase because most of the market is digitizing and emerge into e-commerce. Currently, they have imported services from countries such as United States, Puerto Rico, Argentina, and Mexico. The certifications that they look for in new suppliers are not specific, but they might relate you to Google, for example, if you are in digital marketing, or Microsoft, or others that might come ERP, for example, if you are a SAP integrator, it would depend on the sector you're managing. The payments, it would depend on the project, but they have really flexible conditions. For example, they mentioned this with weekly payments to subcontracting or even outsourcing or nearshoring. That will be a nearshoring for Trinidad and Tobago to Dominican Republic, and how this can be run also as part of their teams. There is high interest. We detected 60% of the companies comment high interest in exploring opportunities with Trinidad and Tobago, and definitely success prices. It comes along that legally constituted. If you have already experiences and references, especially in DR, those require certifications, flexibility, service, and here the price is not as important. It's more for them the service quality and the flexibility that you can provide, and that you have that capacity to leverage those big scale projects that they might have. Finally, and getting there as an express, Kanika, sorry if I'm just taking a little bit more of time, but definitely these barriers, for example, to entry for retail are important. And we were willing to share with you these specifics. I will just highlight some, for example, for those new entrants that you're getting there, and especially low fixed costs are important. So as with the ABIL experience, if you are seeing there that, I mean, at the first stage, you need to have a roadmap and really understand the market, your capacity, how this will be growing, even if it's organically induced by your purchaser, by the importer, how this will happen, and that you can be safe within the infrastructure that you're given. Here, most likely for the suppliers, how this is really important to be competitive. If this is a low cost, especially for private levels, what are the requirements, and also what are the minimum requirements to be a client of those modern retail chains. And definitely rising consumer awareness over prices and different products based on search facilities and price comparison. It's really important in websites or even in store. So this is a tradition there, and this goes from those brick and mortar retail to those brick online, that it's also important, even for colmados, that they have a marketplace online. Import to barrier, I mean, just to consider where Dominican Republic is, and just reminding you that the index that was shown in the doing business that Tamara presented before. So for example, border compliance, you can see that time to import and estimated would be 24 hours, but maybe in Latin America and other Latin American countries or in Caribbean, you can find up to 55 hours. But economies from OECD, they have an 8.5. So you can see there the range. So you can see competitiveness in Dominican Republic. The cost, it's really similar. It's expensive. The border compliance, the documentary compliance in terms of time to import 14 hours. It's really below from other Latin American Caribbean economies, and the cost, it's also less than 50%, so almost 60%, so it's $40. So those elements are important to consider. We're gonna see this later, and some recommendations we have for you. For example, for modern retail channel, what happens? We see you like with these 7 points. First of all, you need to define the real size of the market you're aiming. Identify your competitors, those strengths and weaknesses, the sales plan you're going to have, the projections and expenses, evaluate the likely participation of intermediary. I mean, and most of the time, even if it's your strategy to have this organic growth, you will work with those importers. So determine which is their strategy, and also try to align to them and see how this will be more cost effective for you and optimize the resources you have. Most effective, promising avenue of entry for your product. Define a clear and effective strategy. Be aware that some retail chains ask for fixed investment. That's what we were discussing, as a guarantee of product placement. So selling to the modern chain channels, it has a cost. So there's where you need to identify which will be the first step. In some cases, those investments amounts goes from 10 to 15%. It may vary from the sales, and considers also some of the products, it might be a consign model. So it's also important to be alert, especially for example, hardware. And so it's really important, all the logistics that you need to consider to have your product there in the market. Clearly define the pricing policies for the product portfolio. And it's important you have your presentation, obviously, of your products with, for example, for food and beverages, those related to more natural and the healthy and the nutritional part, profile samples and samplings of the brand, marketing plan for the brand, approval, and this can be played alone. It depends, for example, if it's a private level, well, it will be just how you adapt to that store and the packaging and labeling. Approval by the retailers, new products committee. This is important because they normally have this big board committees where they take the decisions. Payments for the introduction of new products, definition of commission for logistical expenses, usually between 3 and 5, and Stacy will check with us if that's accurate or she has more specific ranges. Fixed discount for visibility of brand, maybe as high as 20%. Policy of support for activities such as seasonal promotions, thematic promotions, sponsorship of internal. So there, for example, in the private levels, there might not be that direct there for positioning the brand, but yes, maybe with the products, or maybe they want to launch a new packaging, or they just see that there's a new, for example, for Comcare, for laundry detergent, if they need like a special economic version, and because their competitors are down. So you need to be really close communication with that team that inside the modern retail. There are policies also for payment for presence of promoters sometimes, and not likely for private levels sometimes, but this is something you need to see. And I don't know, maybe sponsorship, and this can happen, not most of the time, but this can be part of the negotiations. Policies on returns is really important. The logistics, inverse logistics that you will have, and policies on 90-day payments. From traditional retail, we'll define the sales strategy is more like the same as we just saw, but definitely the defined sales plan will be really important, that you work that with your importer, with the wholesaler, that they know the market, that they can give you the ready to market insights that you will need there for soft landing your strategy. And definitely incentive models. So if there was no sponsorship for private levels in the order, but here you will really need to be aggressive. So this is something important. Also the limit credit policies. So this is important. This is a financial health challenge. So how you keep that balance, and especially how you support those colmados. So the groups, these networks they have, how you can have maybe some play there, and that can help. Maybe this is for larger companies, but maybe even as a compound, how you can work this out for others, and protect yourself definitely from losses and insurance, for example, and other logistic things that are important. The legal part, the most important thing, and the contracts that you will have in both of these, it's really, really important. With any of the requirements above, responsibility for supporting any of the activities will do the contract that we're mentioning. So it's really important, and this will be discussed by Ms. Gina. And now this is just a chart for you, and I think that Mr. Puntip just mentioned it there with that perfect storytelling pitching, Mr. Puntip. And this is the chart. So what happens with that adaptation that you will have on the packaging level that will goes to your marketing sales that is expected on a 10%, for example? We don't think you need to innovate in a new product, definitely. So there's where you can see the lower range. But compared to even some of the modern channels and national, for example, for those gourmet or premium products, they might like that. So this is something important. But it would depend the type of target you have. And definitely the labor to sales, that will be these promoters and others. It would depend the strategy, but for private levels might not be that complication. But definitely scaling up and replicating that with as new entrants, and to be considered as a champion, this is something you need to consider. And well, finally, for the services and this market strategy, well, the quality and level of the customer support and services is evolving and improving at a rapid rate. In many sectors, local labor allows for a level of service that would be prohibitive in more developed overseas markets. This is especially true in urban centers and tourist areas. And maybe that's more than the labor area, but maybe more sophisticated or engineering processes. There's where you need to be sure of your competitive advantage. And while TT exporters should be prepared to provide customers and after-sales support, there are opportunity to apply the advanced customer support techniques developed in your own home markets or for other home markets. Dominican, especially if you're working, for example, with the US or UK, so Dominican Republic will really appreciate to know those credentials and see how you can replicate some of those best practices. Dominican workers are well disposed towards and enjoy a good reputation for customer service, which is part explains a country's success in tourism and more recently in operational international call centers. Finally, yes, Kanika.
Okay, thank you so much for those insights, but we are running a bit low on time and we still have a couple more presentations.
For sure.
Right. So you could wrap up at this point. Thank you.
Definitely. And well, finally, this chart, and I think this will be available for you all. So this comes with the private levels and importers distributors. That would be the low-hanging fruit for most of them. Information required that you will find, as you can see here, how buyers and find suppliers. Business chambers are really important. So consider also that once you're there in the market. And some conclusions, most of them we have been discussing, but definitely we see Dominican Republic and that as that opportunity. And don't let only the modern retail, but also the online retail consider into your strategies and how leveraging that success from the references of other Trinidad and Tobago products that are already there on the market. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you, Kanika, for the extra time.
Sure, thank you. Thank you very much to you, Cesar, and to the team, Ingrid, Tamara, Maricha, everyone. It's been a pleasure working with you all. Thank you. All right, so next up, we will be having Ms. Gina Hernandez Volquez. She is the corporate business partner with ALBURQUERQUE Law Firm, which is located in the DR. So Gina is going to be sharing with us on the laws that apply to exporters and how you can ensure compliance for your product and your business. So Gina, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Kanika. I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, well, we're seeing the presenter's view.
Okay, apologize. I thought I was doing it right this time.
Perfect now, thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, after having this great introduction from Neil and this magnificent presentation from ULEAD, I hope not to bore you very much with this subject regarding the legal framework in the Dominican Republic, specifically regarding the sporting and the main aspects that we need to take in consideration regarding the law. As a business person, probably the last thing that you are normally taking in consideration is the law. But before doing any investment or entering into any relation with a local distributor in the Dominican Republic, it is always recommended to have an overview about the legal framework that affects your business regarding the relations between Trinidad and Tobago and the Dominican Republic. I won't make this presentation very long. I will go specifically with several aspects today, which will be the modernization of our legal framework, how to do business in the Dominican Republic, how do you protect your industrial property rights, importing your products into the Dominican Republic, sanitary registrations and services in the Dominican Republic. I will not talk very much about the modernization of our legal framework, but since our law of foreign investment of 1995, number 1695, the Dominican Republic entered in many compromises. And after several free trade agreements, we have been modernizing our legal framework in order to make clear procedures and a simple understanding of what to do in order to protect your investment. As an example of that, we can say that between the Dominican Republic and Trinidad and Tobago, we have signed the free trade agreement CARICOM DR, which was in force for us since February 5th of 2002. And the main aspects that this FTA brought to us was looking for the elimination of barriers to trade and the establishment of a system of rules of origin, customs cooperation, harmonization, and technical health and phytosanitary procedures, but also progressive liberalization of the trade in services, liberalization of the movement of capital, and to promote and develop the cooperation of activities in areas such as agriculture, mining, industry, construction, tourism, transportation, telecommunications, banking, insurance, capital markets, professional services, science, and technology and other matters. In general, this FTA looks to discourage any activity or practice that is not considered as competitive between the parties. Having that said, the first thing that we must take in consideration for Trinidad and Tobago exporters is to get to know how can you do business in the Dominican Republic. So you can either constitute a company, creating a local company according to our companies law from 2008, foreign people, either physical or companies, can, with no problem at all, constitute a local company. There is no requirement for these shareholders or for the board of administration to have a local residency in the country. So being foreign, you can create a local company. But you can also have a branch establishment. Just a moment ago, Cesar was talking about doing business with the Dominican Republic, and one of the requirements that needed for you to have is to have a TNT company created. So if you have that company already created and you are willing to do businesses in the country directly, you can open a branch here according to our law. On the other hand, you can merge or acquire an existing company or an existing business. The law allows a free merge without any formal requirements other than the one related to corporate procedures. There are only a few exceptions that require a previous authorization or notification to the organism that regulates or supervises very sensitive sectors, such as telecommunication, electricity, insurance, and aviation. But other than that, you can totally enter into a procedure of merger and acquisition with no problem at all. And also, you can designate a distributor, an agent, or a dealer already located in the Dominican Republic. And this option is the one that I want to take a little slow to explain, specifically when we enter into what we call Law 173. And somebody asked before if Mr. Neil had any issues or deals regarding this law. I'll explain a little bit that the Law 173 from April 6th of 1966 was created to protect local agents or licensees in order of, in case there was any unjust termination of their distribution contracts by the licensor. This law establishes a very broad list of indemnifications in case the licensor decides to terminate the agreement and chooses not to renew, but to come here directly or to appoint any other distributor. So what happens here? The licensee, according to this law, will have the right to demand the investments they made and to promote the business, to create an establishment, to make to hire employees. Also, there is a specific indemnification concerning the incomes that were generated during that relation of business. So it's a very sensitive rule that has been a huge worry for the foreign investors that decide to appoint a local distributor, because this is a law of public order, and the Convention of the Parties normally will not be able to waive the application of this law. However, it is very important to say that according to the FTA that we have with the CARICOM, the Article 4 for the application of this law regarding CARICOM entrepreneurs specifically says that if within the contract of distribution you say that you expressly agree that the relation will not enter into Law 173, then it will be unable to be pursued about the indemnifications recognized by this law. Therefore, the central bank, which is the institution recognized to register this contract, will not be able to register this document, and the indemnifications to apply will be only in case of breach of contract. On the other hand, regarding the protection of industrial property rights, I saw a question earlier to Mr. Neil if he required or needed to register his brands in order to commercialize his products in the Dominican Republic. Probably when Mr. Neil entered into those businesses 25 years ago, it was not mandatory. But after Law 20 of 2000 for industrial property rights, in order for you to defend your rights over your trademarks, your trade names, or any other IP rights, you must register such sign before the National Office of Industrial Property. What can you do in that case? So there is ONAPI, the institution that takes care of such registrations. We have to remember that the protection of IP rights, it's merely local. So if you have it registered on your country, but you will like to protect your right here in the Dominican Republic, you will need to do a register process. You can register patents, trademarks, trade names, and grant over them a license to the distributor or the franchisee that you decide to appoint. On the other hand, when we talk about importing products into the DR, as I believe Cesar said before, you will have to take in consideration that there are several permits, licenses, or authorizations from diverse authorities according to the type of products in order for you to bring those products to the Dominican Republic. It is very important to say that to import into the Dominican Republic, there must be a company created with a mercantile registration and with a tax ID. It can be your company, it can be the branch of your company, or it can be the distributor that you have decided to appoint. But there must be a company created to import these products. According to the type of products, we have that medicines require the sanitary registration before the Ministry of Public Health. And in some cases, they also need a special permit when you are talking about controlled substances. On the other hand, we are talking about packed goods, pre-packed goods, food and beverages. They require sanitary registration also before the Ministry of Public Health. When we talk about products and byproducts of plant origin, you need a permission from the Ministry of Agriculture, but also sanitary and phytosanitary measures may apply according to the FTA that we have between CARICOM and the Dominican Republic. And finally, we have what we call the livestock products that also require this sanitary registration before the Directorate of Livestock. When we go specifically to talk about sanitary registration, we are talking about packed goods, food, beverages, and medicines, but also cosmetics and products for the home and of the care of hygiene. We need to take in consideration that before making any import into the Dominican Republic, you need this sanitary registration. Why is that? Because customs, as soon as we get to receive in the Dominican Republic these products, will verify if your product has its proper number of sanitary registration. Because if you don't, you might not be able to import, distribute, and commercialize these products. We have been, during the years, received different regulations in order to protect and to clarify the procedures in order to put in order the requirements to get the sanitary registration. I believe Cesar said before that in comparison with other countries, the process is simple. The list of documents that you might require are very easy to obtain. And the timely frame in order for you to get this registration is up to 45 calendar days. Actually, there is, since 2017, a new simplified procedure that allows you to submit the request before the public ministry health in a virtual way, and afterwards bring the physical documents and the samples for you to present before the institution in order to make the corresponding registration. In particular, we have also to mention that those products that you are willing to bring to the Dominican Republic need to fulfill specific packaging and labeling. As you can see here in this slide, I can tell you that there is a specific list that establishes the allowed packaging in the Dominican Republic for the products to come from the Trinidad and Tobago or any other country that decides to export into the Dominican Republic. But also, this packaging must contain specific information on its label. As Cesar also, I'm sorry, Cesar, I'm mentioning you a lot, but you said pretty much the business things to consider, but there is a legal relation or a legal need to explain that also. The labels need to be in Spanish. So if your labels will come in English, you can put an additional label that can be put over the original label, but must include several specific mandatory information, and it has to be in Spanish, such as the number of the sanitary registration, as I told you before, because the product must come with the corresponding sanitary registration before entering into the Dominican Republic. The trademark, which must be registered, because in order for you to get the sanitary registration, you need to register your brand before, and it's one of the documents that you must present before the Ministry of Health. But also there are other informations that you need to include within the labeling, such as list of ingredients according to the specific laws regarding the order of the contents and the percentages, also the country of origin, the weight, and in case it's a product that has a due date, you must indicate it also on the label. Having said that about the product importation, on the other hand, we have what we call the services. According to our FTA agreement, the agreement allows or makes the interest of the parties to apply measures in order for them to allow services from one to another country. Therefore, the services that are recognized according to the FTA are the production, distribution, marketing, sale and delivery of a service, but also the purchase, use, or payment of a service, the access in connection with the supply of the service, services which are required to be offered to the public in general, the presence, including the commercial presence of service suppliers in the territory or any other party, and the provision of a bond or any other form of financial security as a condition of the provision of those services. There are certain services that are not included or considered in the FTA in order to the treaty agreement, such as the promotion and support of measures provided by a party or a state enterprise, including government supported loans, guarantees, insurance, and grants and fiscal incentives provided by the government of the parties. Also excluded, you can name the air services and some of the services related to those air services, with the exemption of repairment and specialty services, as well as computerized reservation systems. And finally, are considered as excluded the services or government functions. So what happens with the FTA regarding the services and how you can provide your services in the Dominican Republic. Well, the FTA clearly says that it's not mandatory for you to establish a company in the Dominican Republic for a Trinidad and Tobago company to offer services in the Dominican Republic. As that the Article 10 about the local presences specifically says that neither party may require a service provider of another party to establish or maintain a representation office or any other form or company within, or that is resident of its territory as a condition to provide said services. However, on the other hand, we have to mention regarding the double taxation agreements, specifically regarded to services, that the parties agree to work towards the adoption of agreements to prevent and avoid double taxation between the member states of CARICOM and the Dominican Republic. Even though that we have within the FTA agreement the intention to avoid double taxation between the parties, at the present date we do not have an agreement between Trinidad and Tobago or any other member of the CARICOM and the Dominican Republic. We only have agreements with Canada and with Spain. So even though it's not mandatory for you to offer your services directly from Trinidad and Tobago into the Dominican Republic, it is very important for you to consider that there might be any tax consequences in case you decide not to have your business located in the country. And to that point, I like to refer to Article 305 of our tax code, that establishes that in case you are located in Trinidad and Tobago and you offer a service here in the Dominican Republic without having a company in the Dominican Republic, you will be able to the retention of 27% at the moment that the buyer of your service decides to pay. As a retention agent, they will have to retain this 27% as an income tax. Only some services will be exempted from that retention, which are those related to financial, pensions, transportation of people and goods, electricity, water and garbage, health, educational and cultural, funerary services, and hair salons. Despite this situation that will allow you to consider that doing services from abroad will take part of your income, you must also have in mind that according to the type of services that you are going to do in the Dominican Republic, there might be any structures or any special regimes that might be very beneficial for you to decide to establish physically in the Dominican Republic. And I give you two main examples. The first one is free trade zones, which is very popular for call centers. This is a very special regime for the installation of services companies in the Dominican Republic related to export services. And it includes a very wide list of exemption of taxes, including consumer taxes, import tariffs, and others. On the other hand, if you are talking about hospitality services and the area of tourism in particular, we have a special law, which is called the Confiture, and it grants special treatment to the companies that decide to create new installations or significant remodelations of the area of hospitality services, such as hotels, restaurants, and any other complementary services. And saying that, keeping that in mind, even though we have a specific FTA with non-tariff barrier considerations, but are considering benefits between the parties related to importing of goods and services into the Dominican Republic, you might want to see if, according to your specific business, there are special regimes or any other ways for you to take or enjoy the most of the business that you decide to settle in the Dominican Republic, and taking the advantages that you might not be able to see if you decide just to start the business and look for a lawyer afterwards. I believe that it was a very brief presentation, but I'm really here and available if you have any particular questions about this overview of the main areas that you might take in consideration in order to have a relation with the Dominican Republic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gina. I really appreciate you joining us today. And those were some really, really great insights into the law and into everything that our exporters need to do to be compliant. So next up, we will be going on to cargo consolidators with Ms. Stacey Big. So I'm sorry that we are a bit over time, but this is good information and I know you guys can utilize this in your future endeavors. So I'm going to move on to
Hi,
Stacey.
everyone. Thanks for having us present. I'm going to be short and sweet, so let's go. The CARICOM agreement between Dominican Republic was signed on August 22nd, 1998, and it grants Trinidad and Tobago's exporters access to more than 8 million consumers in the Dominican Republic market. This agreement eliminates border taxes on all goods imported from and exported to the Dominican Republic, other than those specifically listed or deemed as economically sensitive. Trinidad and Tobago has been a net exporter to the Dominican Republic over the period of 2016 to 2020. In 2020, Trinidad and Tobago exported products valued at approximately 302 million and imported approximately 254 million from that market. The main products exported in 2020 were urea, prepared foods, plastic bottles, glass bottles, copper conductors, toilet paper, and natural gas, while the top imported products were bananas, mineral water, tobacco, plastic packaging, gypsum, condiments, circuit breakers, and avocados. To get into the market to export your products, a couple of documentation that is required would be the shipping document, whether it's through air freight, the airway bill or bill of lading, the commercial invoice or invoices, origin certificate, the packing list, cargo description to complete classification number, and any additional documents would be a copy of the bill of lading, licenses, non-tariff regulation certificates, and origin certificate. I have also included just some specimen documents so you'll have an idea of what it is the documents required look like. All right, so basically the modes of transport that we would offer to the DR would be full container loads or LCL shipments. A full container load is where the shipper would take the whole container and he or she, the exporter, will, all their cargo would belong to the exporter. For the LCL or groupage, it would refer to exporters that come together to do a consolidated container. So you'll have multiple shippers to consignees in DR. So to the LCL option, we have rates on file search for 3 options. The frequency is weekly and the transit time with full container loads would be 8 to 10 days. The LCL options, unfortunately, we would have to go through Miami. And in order to send you a quotation, we require the DIMS, the weights, and the commodity. We offer a monthly service to Miami, so any LCL consolidations with CCA would be every month, and the transit time would be 14 days. A loading fee is based on palletized cargo, and the commercial invoice is required to quote for insurance and brokerage. Clearance on the consignee side would require an invoice and packing list to clear their cargo. Your air freight options, we utilize Amerijet, Caribbean Airlines, and DHL. And as you can see, the route would be Port of Spain to Miami to Santo Domingo. Through Caribbean Airlines, it's a little bit more stops along the way. And with DHL Express, it is a direct sailing. A flight, sorry, my apologies. All right, so there are certain types of consolidation services that we could offer you, which is a shipper's consolidation. One manufacturer consolidating a full container with multiple orders from multiple buyers in the same country, in this case, the DR. Buyer's consolidation. One consignee at destination purchasing from many manufacturers or sellers in Trinidad and loading into one container. Non-traditional services, so if it is that you do not have a facility, freight forwarders, we would load the cargo at our facility, and we also do all the documentations for your export services, which would be bill of lading, certificates of origin, export customs documentation, etc. It's short and sweet, guys, as promised. I know we had a lot of information that we got today. And as usual, I'm available for any calls or queries, and we are always here to assist. Thank you, Kanika. I'm done.
Thank you very much, Stacey. Short and sweet indeed. All right, so I know we are over time, but I just want to give our participants an opportunity to share any questions that they had for the presenters at this time. We're just going to take a few minutes and see how many questions we can answer. So you guys can drop them in the chat and I'll read them out to the presenters. Okay, so I'm seeing a question from Natalie. Thanks for the presentation. What is the average markup for the distributor, wholesaler, and retailer? For some stores, second question, for some stores, the fixed investment of 10 to 15%, is it, for example, like a one-off stocking fee? Okay, so I can answer the first one. So the average markup we've been seeing is somewhere between 20 to 40%. And I believe Cesar, you had spoken to the one-off stocking fee, the 10 to 15%?
Yes, definitely. Well, this is an example. It can vary depending, but that's a range that we find for fixed investment.
Okay, sure. Any other questions? I know it was a lot of information we threw at you guys today, but any questions you could feel free to ask at this point. All right, from Yolanda, if I just want to scout the DR community, do I connect with your agency there? I'm sorry, Yolanda, which agency you're referring to? ULEAD? Yeah. Okay, and the Dominican Republic. All right, Yolanda, I'm gonna ask you to unmute and you can ask your question. Okay, so Yolanda's mic doesn't work. I'm not sure if it's ULEAD that you're speaking about, Yolanda. Yes, you could contact them. Their information will be in the presentation that we send forward. And the next question from Marianella, was alcohol included in the trade agreement? I will have to have a look at that. So if Marianella, you could send me an email after and I could check the trade agreement for you and I'll respond to you directly. Next, Dana Garcia, in terms of fresh produce, what are the top commodities traded between Trinidad and Tobago and the Dominican Republic? That's also some trade information that I could get for you. So you have my email, kespinosa@exporTT, that's co.tt. you can reach out to me with these specific trade-related questions, and I could pull the information from our databases and send forward. From Elizabeth, yes, you will be sent a copy of the recording and also a copy of all of the presentations. Right, from Carrie, I'm not seeing your full name, sorry. Okay, if I need to explore potential distributors, is there an agency online that can assist with that initiative? Yes, that's us, exporTT, that is our specialty. So you can reach out to me and I can put you in contact with some distributors. Through this market survey, we were able to make direct contact with specific distributors, and also we have a shipping database called Panjiva, which we can pull shippers from. We can see who's importing your products, the volumes, and their contact information. Okay. Right, so contact information for the presenters will be included in their presentations when we send that out. And I'll type my email in the chat if you missed it there. And are there any tax exemptions on steel or motors? That would require some research. So Sachin, you can reach out to me as well via my email, and I can get that for you and respond to you directly. All right, from Nathan, for creative agencies looking to provide marketing, social media management, and web development in the DR, would there be a language barrier? So we had met with a few service providers in the DR, and so far they said that it would not be an issue because they do work not just in the DR, but also with the US, with Canada. So they are looking to collaborate with English speakers, and from my experience, a lot of them are bilingual, so it should not be an issue, the languages. Keisha Smith, what about stationaries? Okay, I believe you are speaking about the specific export potential. It was not included as one of the products that we looked at, but I do have access to some reports on the market. So again, feel free to write me at this email and I can get back to you. And all right, from Andre, can exporTT help with entry legal documents to trade with the DR? Well, for the legal documents, we can always put you onto our contact with ALBURQUERQUE, and they can assist with that for when you're ready to begin trading. Okay, so because we are a bit over, I think I'm gonna wrap up there, but you all have my email. You will be receiving the presentations, you'll get the presenters' contact information, and any further questions, you could feel free to reach out to any one of us and we'll be happy to help you out as much as we can. So I just wanna thank you all for this. It's been a great session. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something and that you're able to take forward this information to help your export decisions. So thank you all, and we look forward to future sessions such as these. We have British Virgin Islands coming up, Curacao, and Miami a bit later down. All right, thank you, and do have a wonderful day.